Today we celebrate Christ the King, Stir It Up Sunday, and it's also the last Sunday of the church calendar, as is Advent next week. So many things for me to choose to talk about today. So where shall I start? So let's start with Christ the King. Maybe you've wondered why we celebrate Christ the King today. Well, Pope Pius XI in 1925 was upset with many national governments, and so he insulated a feast day to remind the Catholics that the only true King is Jesus Christ. It was moved to this day as it was the last Sunday in the church year. So how would you show loyalty to a king? Well, during World War II, most men and women were called up to their country to help them in the war. So then, how do you show your loyalty to Jesus? We don't need a war, but love. He calls us to love one another, and by this we show our loyalty. So before half-term last month, the English government said they weren't going to provide schools meals over the half-term for families who needed it. So that after this, many local restaurants said that they'll make packed lunches and things like that. And also McDonald's offered free meals. One restaurant added a children's lunch to their Pay It Forward scheme. Pay It Forward means that you go into a cafe, you add a hot drink or food item to your bill, and instead of you receiving it, someone will come in later and ask for a coffee, for example, on the list, and they'll receive it without paying. As Jesus said, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat, and I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink." So what's this about the sheep and the goat? And why would Jesus use this parallel and this image? Let's start with the sheep. As we know, the shepherd looks after the sheep and keeps them well apart from the goats. But Jesus doesn't mention the shepherds much till later, as in this passage, he talks about a king that chooses sheep to be on his right hand, so that the sheep have fed him and clothed him. But the sheep may not be thinking, "Why have we done right when we have never met Jesus?" As they have said, "When did we feed him? When did we clothe him? When you brought that coffee for someone, you brought it for Jesus." So what about the goats? Then he said to those on the left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire, prepare the devil and his angels." The goats have lived the bad life. They saw someone who was in need and walked away. The goats had not accepted the love of Christ. If they had known it was Christ, they would have helped. Just be good to him and no one else. So why just thought of themselves? But seeing as it's the last Sunday of the church year, I want to talk about what Stuart's been saying about being prepared and talking about having a fresh start. We have a mirror image of Jesus. We love him and we can show this through our actions we take and how we act towards others. He is not asking for big things, but to show you wanting to be on the sheep side and not the goat. I know that a couple of people have already started making their Christmas cakes, but traditionally today is also the last day to stir up mixture in your Christmas cakes. Could you imagine that Jesus could stir up things in your life? Mixing things together. Maybe we need to stir things up in our life and be able to help each other. Really think about how we spend our time, and also when we're out buying that coffee in the morning, we can pay for someone else, that person behind you, their coffee or tea. We have choices in life to help or not to help, and in this parable it helps tell us how we can help and how we can be on the right side at Judgment Day. We can enter the kingdom with Jesus and be our King. Could you visit that person who is ill? Maybe drop a message, check on them, give them toys, someone who needs clothing, who can't afford to buy it. A couple of months ago, I was tidying my study and came across a lot of baby clothes that were Bridget's. I thought I'd keep them because I thought we might have another child. But after 10 years, I don't think that's the plans anymore. So I've got a cousin who's just given birth. So I decided it was time to do the right thing and give them the clothes and the blankets. I received a phone call afterwards and saying thank you and how grateful they were. And it made me feel happy, and obviously it was the right thing to do. An act of kindness to help someone who doesn't have to be big. It just shows how Jesus is working in us and how we mirror his love. And if we mirror his love, I'm sure we can enter the kingdom with him. We have all been doing kindness and good things over the past years, helping each other, showing our love, and this shows our loyalty to our King, our heavenly King. We just need to keep on and be ready for that day of judgment. So I dare you to stir things up in your life with love and pay it forward, and keep choosing the right way, the way of the sheep, and we can start by preparing for Advent and the coming of Jesus. Amen.